Hi and welcome to The Venture. I'm Suzi Dafnis and I'm here with Robert Gerrish and Valarie Khoo. Today we're talking about what makes the ideal workspace. So whether we're working from home or a commercial space, our environment and how we work really can impact our productivity.
Massively. And if I speak to one more person who's working from their third bedroom staring against a brick wall, I'm going to slap them. It's hugely important. And I think, as you know, from the world I inhabit, the small end of town, a lot of our people work, 70% of them at least, work from a home-based office and probably spend more time in there than they do in their bedroom. And hopefully they've got their eyes open a lot more than they have in their bedroom. So it's very important that we have a space that supports us in our work. And there's a number of things we can do, I think, to make that happen. But it's not okay to work in a very poor space and with lots of clutter and junk and expect to work efficiently. It's just not going to happen.
What's important for you in your work environment?
I think two things. One, a dedicated space. So whether that's at home or office, on the road or whatever, even if you're in a hotel, you decide this is going to be the desk in the hotel or this is going to be the section that's going to be for work, so that you can get into that mindset as soon as you're in that spot. But the other thing, apart from the physical aspect of it, is because if you want to work remotely, whether you commute or you want to work in cafes, is to make sure that all your data is actually synced and in one spot, so you have seamless connection everywhere you go. I think that's just as important these days.
When we started our business, we were operating from the second bedroom, as it were, from our little apartment, and that environment at the time was the perfect environment, but at some point it became not enough. It was crowded, it was messy, so we moved to a commercial space. But some days the best environment for me is going back to a home office.
Particularly for those people that just work from a small office, be it in their bedroom or not, is having a variety of workspaces, I think, is also very useful. Whether it might be that if you're doing something creative writing, you may take yourself out and go and sit in a garden or in an outdoor space.
Yeah, experiment to see what works for you, because everyone's different. What works for you is different to what works for Suzi.
Yeah, I think that's
I'm
so
sure
right.
that's the case. I tend to work in a kind of very cluttered environment. There's always lots of books and papers and piles of magazines. My business partner has a clear desk with just his laptop and, almost, no, he's very efficient. But then I'm kind of efficient, but I know it's there. I just don't know exactly which pile it is in all the time. But that's how I like to work. If you cleared my desk, I would be lost.
Yeah. Look, and I think that's, it's different, very different for different folks. But I think if there's one thing, if I'm working with somebody, talking with someone who has a lot going on and they just can't kind of focus and they have trouble, then I will often ask them or go and have a look at where they're working. Because often physical clutter translates into mental clutter. If when you look at your desk, all you see are action lists and folders and receipts, then your mind is immediately, it's like start your computer and opening up every piece of software. It's not going to work so well. So it's the same in our work, I think. If you see all this stuff around you and it's going straight into your head, you're not going to work nice and clearly. So often a good thing is either clear that desk or go and work somewhere where there isn't all that clutter.
You brought up earlier syncing devices, being mobile. When we are taken out of our usual environment, whether it's our home office or a commercial space, how do we remain productive?
I think that for me, connection to the internet is vital. So I know I do also love those times on the planes where you're not connected. However, if you really want to keep on going while you're on the go, you really need to be connected to the internet so that you can keep the communication going. But I think that the most important thing is that so many of us suffer from overwhelm and just so many things that we think we need to get to. Like you said, the receipts, the inbox, the this, the that. And I think the most important thing there is to just get everything out of your brain, because you're kind of paralyzed when you actually don't know how many things that you have to do. So actually write the list physically and get everything out of your brain so you know these are the things that you need to attack, and then prioritize them. And that act in itself can give you a sheer sense of relief that it's actually not as bad as you thought.
An example I wanted to give was just recently being stranded in Santiago in Chile and having to give a presentation from the business centre of the Sheraton Hotel. And I'm used to giving virtual presentations, but usually it's out of my office. But here, in my comfort zone. But here I was delivering it in a closed business centre at midnight, which equated to sometime in the morning here. And so I had to quickly adapt. But because I do travel a lot and I am out of my environment, it wasn't too difficult.
Yeah.
I could have been anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Obviously, that's wonderful, and I think whether we like it or not, we are the cloud is around us, and we're slowly but surely, I think, beginning to understand just the real benefits of having so much out there in the cloud, and I think those businesses that are yet to embrace it, that's okay, because maybe they don't need to embrace it just yet. But the people like Valarie and yourself and we do in our business, when you do start using some of those things, making use of Google Apps and whatever else, it's astonishing. It gives you just a new level of freedom, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If whilst we're sitting here talking, if someone's breaking into my office, I hope they're not, and walks off with my laptop, it's not as devastating as it would have been if they'd done it a year ago. Because I know everything's kind of backed up somewhere else. So it's fascinating.
What are some of the things about a workspace that perhaps are detrimental to our business objectives?
Just distraction, allowing yourself to be in a space where you can actually be pulled away either by Oprah or the laundry or children who might be demanding your time. You need to set boundaries. So definitely when you're in a certain space, you can be productive and get stuff done.
I mean, that's hard when you're at home.
Yeah, look, it is hard, and I think it doesn't, working at home does not suit everybody, and I spoke to a number of people who tried it and think, ooh, I'm not doing that again. And often it is because of boundaries, because what starts out as being a really sort of idyllic, lovely thing, I can breeze through in the kitchen, I can talk to the kids, I can play with the dog, I can see the neighbours, is great in the early days, and then when things get a little bit more serious, it says, Jesus, that child comes in here one more time, I'm going to throttle it. So you have to have some boundaries. I mean, I remember when I set my office up at home, and please don't report me to docs, but our son was very young, and it was a new house, and we did some renovations, and I put the door handles on my office very high up because my son at that time was 3. So I thought, right, well, I'll just move the handles where he can't reach them. And sounds nasty now, but it worked. It meant that he couldn't just bound into my office until he learned how to drag a chair across. But
he got taller.
Yeah, he got taller. Now it's fine. But having those boundaries, absolutely essential, I think. And also the thing is with an office is we should have things in our office that really support us. I have particular paintings in my office. I have flowers in my office. I have pictures of my nearest and dearest, things that mean things to me, and everything is kind of there. And I think we should do the same. If it's our office, let's make it work. And if that means having a chair to lie on in the middle of the afternoon, then do that. We can design our own way of working.
What's the most important part of your personal environment? What do you enjoy most?
I like it to be aesthetically beautiful, but having said that, I work a bit like you, Suzi, so I have piles of things everywhere, and sometimes the aesthetics go away. But what I do love, and I feel a sense of achievement, is when I tidy that up and it looks beautiful again, and I feel I can be productive again.
I like to have music. I don't have it on all the time, but that's important. I like to be able to open the blind and have some natural light. And I like to have flowers in the corner.
Yes.
And it seems like a crazy investment because I spend so little time in my home office, but it's just something that makes that workspace work for me.
Mine are fake flowers, I must tell you.
I'll send you some fresh ones.
Okay, thanks. One thing I must share with you as well is we have a member of our community who does a wonderful thing every year where she moves her entire office out into the other room. That's the adjacent room in her house. And then she looks at every single thing, and it has to kind of fight for permission to come back in again. So she empties the office at the end of the year, and then everything fights to come back in again. Wonderful notion that you move everything out and you say, okay, does this deserve a place in my office? That's a really powerful way of clearing some clutter, I think.
That's all for today's episode of The Venture. We've been talking about the ideal workspace. So tell us, what is yours? Is it about having flowers and music and daylight? Is it about having a really tidy desk? Or is it about not being at home, but being in a commercial space where you can divide your work life from your home life? Let us know. And join us again here on The Venture.